Well, welcome everyone to this Learning Disability England hosted webinar, which today is focused on the support of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. And this is linked with the PMLD Core and Essential Service Standards, which some of you or many of you will be familiar with, and in particular focused on self and peer advocacy, with some examples of how we've been seeking to promote that within our organisation, Achieve Together. Firstly, I'd like to thank Learning Disability England for giving the opportunity to facilitate this session. Thank you, Rachel. It's very much appreciated. And yes, so my name is Michael Fullerton. My role in Achieve Together is Director of Health and Wellbeing. Achieve Together support adults with learning disabilities across different parts of England and Wales in supported living or residential care homes, with some outreach support for some individuals. And we support many adults with profound and multiple learning disabilities. My background personally is as a learning disability nurse, and within my role I support our teams to have knowledge, skill, and the vision as well to support people well as possible and enjoy a happy, healthy, and meaningful life. In terms of the webinar, so run through the presentation and then take comments, any thoughts on good practice from others, any sharing of good practice would be great, any questions. And the final slide that I show will sort of give some links to some resources that I'll be referring to during the session. And then hopefully for people who haven't been able to attend today, we'll be able to see the recorded version afterwards. You'll have the opportunity also to participate in a couple of polls during the session, which would be nice. Just really to say, in terms of this topic, it's a particular interest of mine, not something that's been discussed widely enough. So I'm personally keen that we have these conversations so we can ensure that we raise the profile of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities, that they are present, being visible and playing an active part in society and indeed in their own lives. So just starting with a reminder of what PMLD is, what a definition is, and do forgive me, I don't like using any abbreviation, as many of us don't, including the use of PMLD. So why I'm using it is because it's recognised and people seem to understand what it means, even if only loosely. So what I and we need to do, I think, is as others enhance their understanding of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities, is to stop using the abbreviation. I think, unfortunately, we'll need to lean on this collective term to describe this population of people, as you do need to describe people in other groups. So, for example, people who are autistic, have learning disabilities, or Irish. We have collective terms for different groups. So, but we can simply refer to the longer hand version of it, profound and multiple learning or intellectual disability. So here we have a description of what profound and multiple learning disability is.
Start a bit of gossip where we can.
Profound and multiple learning disabilities is a description rather than a clinical diagnosis. And whilst there's no definitive set of characteristics for people with profound and multiple learning disabilities, it's widely acknowledged that this is a diverse group with people having learning disabilities and a complex range of other difficulties. People with profound and multiple learning disabilities tend to have more than one disability, the most significant of which is profound intellectual disability. And these people will have difficulty in communication and often experience issues such as physical disabilities, sensory impairments, sensory processing differences, complex health issues, for example, epilepsy, respiratory problems, dysphagia, eating and drinking difficulties, and so on. standards, the essential and the core and essential service standards focused on people with profound and multiple learning disabilities have been around for a little while now, and many of you will be familiar with them. Conversations about the standards started firstly in about 2016, a few years after the Raising Our Sights report by Professor Jim Mansell in 2010. So it took a little while after these conversations started to get the momentum going, and there was excellent collaboration, networking during the course of 2016-17. And then we launched the service standards at the first Raising the Bar National Conference in November 17. For anybody that was there, you might remember that we crammed more people in there than the conference hall could hold. We had people sitting in the aisles, and that was because of the level of interest and the appetite, which overwhelmed us. We were being cautious and had a venue which could accommodate about 100 people, and we could at least double that because of the extent of the interest from different parts of the UK, from Ireland, the Channel Islands, and the Isle of Man. There's huge interest in this because of the lack of previous networking and support around this group of people. So while there was an initial core group of myself, Annie Ferguson, Joanna Grace, and Thomas Dukas leading the facilitation of the development of standards and the Raising the Bar conferences, it's had the benefit of many others to shape what was created. And we now have this really close and far-reaching network that is stronger for all that work and creativity. So those others include many family members, advocates, health, education, and social care professionals. And really the standards came about because of an absence of any such benchmarking of what good practice looks like for people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. Indeed, an absence of discussion about this population of people, even within the learning disability sector. So taking advantage of the great work of Jim Mansell, we re-looked at the Raising Our Sights report, talked about how we could raise the bar for this group of people. So hence the standards, the conferences, and now the Facebook pages, PMLD link, Twitter account, and the fact that the home of the standards and Raising the Bar is now firmly within PMLD link journal, which reminds me that if you're not a subscriber to PMLD link, or if your organization has a subscription but you don't personally, I'd urge you to get an individual subscription. It's really is a wealth of information about best practice over the years. So really good value for money, and the journal is run by a small group of volunteers, and the only income is through subscriptions. So we can keep it going, keep sharing the best practice with obviously the more people that subscribe, the stronger it will be. There's a link to PMLD link website at the end of the slides. So I guess if it's okay, Rachel, do a first poll just to get a sense of people are actively using the standards in their everyday life. So I'm sure you can see the poll there. Just want to get a sense of if people are familiar with and using the standards in day-to-day life.
Any more last submissions? It looks like most of you have answered.
Brilliant. Thank you. The results come up straight away then, Rachel?
I've just ended it and I will share it with you now so you can all see.
Okay. 22% of people are using it all of the time, brilliant. 29% sometimes. 29% hadn't heard of it before today. Okay, so we're sort of reaching more people today, which is brilliant, yeah. With the PMLD linked journal, what you'll find in the website is a copy of the standards you can download and just have a good sense of what it's all about. We're going to cover some elements of it today, but just a tiny proportion of it. So yeah, good to see that we're going to reach more people today, and more people then can spread the word about the standards and make sure that we get it out there. With the standards then, what we found is that lots of people were feeling quite isolated in terms of support and the ability to network with other people around, supporting people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. So that created a real buzz with Raising the Bar conferences, and you know, that's a real collaborative, you know, lots of families involved in that, yeah, with a bit of luck, we'll be able to achieve another Raising the Bar quite soon, if there's an appetite for it, obviously post-lockdown. And there's still a lot of work to be done. So the standards have been out for a little while now. They're being used, as you can see, by some individuals all of the time, some people some of the time. There's still a lot to do in terms of encouraging, for example, regulators like CQC, Ofsted, CIW and Wales, getting those people to be actively using those and sort of measuring services and support against those standards. And equally with commissioners, now some commissioners are really embracing the standards, but it needs to be more widespread. And in terms of the standards, they're broken down as you might expect, so that we have what should be in place within any organisation supporting people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. It could be an educational setting, health, social care settings, and need to make sure that the organisation, in particular the leadership, etc., has good structures in place. And then also what should be in place for each individual supported. So within that, we're looking to see that we have particular attention to what person-centered support looks like for individuals. What we're looking at here today is standards 3 and standards 4 within this individual section. So standard 3 around meaningful quality relationships, and standard 4 that people have a good social and community life. And then in relation to standard 3, honing in on that, and then you will see this within the standards booklet, that is focuses on people having a sense of belonging, that they're empowered and enabled to do things, and not simply a reliance on things having to be done, you know, to the person. So how we engage with people with profound and multiple learning disabilities and support that person to engage is so important. It doesn't matter who we are, we all want social connections. We all want and need other people in our lives. And we need to feel that we have a level of control and equity within our relationship with others. So why would that not be any different for people with profound and multiple learning disabilities? So just because somebody can't use speech or use it very well or has a profound learning disability doesn't make them any less of a person. So what that person needs, and what we all need for mental and physical well-being, is close connection with others, a sense of belonging, and having people close to us who we can love and trust. So it's us here who can make a difference and make sure that people have a trusting, valued relationships in their lives. You know, that within the lives of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities, that they have trusting and valued relationships. So it's important that in our day-to-day working lives, if we are supporting people with profound and multiple learning disabilities, that we are honing in on that key individual standard to make sure that people do have positive relationships in their lives. Standard 4, with this, we just need to be really mindful of that the contribution of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities is not simply tokenistic. So we're not just ticking a box to make ourselves look good, but we're connecting with the person to ensure that they feel part of and are an equal part of the social situation they're in. For far too long, people with profound and multiple learning disabilities have been hidden away, safely, securely, protected because of their health vulnerabilities, but they, like us, need to live a life, not simply an existence. If you look at us now in lockdown with the social restrictions, the lack of access to social groups, not being able to travel here or there, no nipping randomly down to the pub or the restaurant. So we have endured this collectively for a year now. Imagine that is your life. So how many people with profound multiple learning disabilities, children or adults, are in this permanent lockdown and don't know any other reality? So this really should make us take notice, take action to make sure we can play our part, so that those people are present, are involved, and are having a life, and a life worth living. People with profound and multiple learning disabilities need to be visible. How often have you seen people with profound and multiple learning disabilities on screen? Soaps, for example, are supposed to reflect society in a bit of a more exaggerated form, if we're honest, but how often have you seen people with profound and multiple learning disabilities on screen represented positively in society? It's quite rare, and something that we need to change, and we can change that together. What it takes is simply a bit more time. I've borrowed this, what I think is a great quote from Joanna Grace, which I think is really important for today. In order to support people to be visible, to be involved and included in a meaningful way, we need to master our skills to actively listen, engage with, and respond positively. As Jo and her friend Chloe said in their TED Talk about inclusion, we know very well the physical barriers to inclusion, the lack of changing places, the problems with accessibility to buildings and transport and the like. We need to remove the social barriers to inclusion. And the main barriers are actually, could be us, not taking time, not demonstrating awareness, not listening, not affording people a chance to be present. So if people with profound and multiple learning disabilities are present, they're equal, it's not just that person that gains, it's all of us. As part of this, what we're focused on is self and peer advocacy, and given some definitions of those, with self-advocacy referring to an individual's ability to effectively communicate his or her own interests, desires, needs, and rights, recognizing that people are experts by experience, involves them in speaking out for themselves about the things that are important to them. And it means that people are able to ask for what they want and need and to tell others about their thoughts and feelings. Self-advocacy for us all is really important. It's critical for our well-being. Peer advocacy is referring to one-to-one support provided by advocates with a similar disability or experience to a person using services. Trained and supported volunteers often provide peer advocacy as part of a coordinated project. Peer advocacy schemes argue that they are particularly well placed to empathise with the needs of people, to approach them as their equals and to feel strongly about and fight hard for their needs. So it's not just us as professionals in professional capacities to advocate on behalf of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. There's also really good opportunities for peer advocacy for those people. So here I want to give some specific examples of inclusion, of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities being involved, and our journey as a support provider to keep learning from that inclusion and the positive impact it can have for us. Some of you may have heard of Campaign for Change. They're a self and peer advocacy group who meet regularly and discuss issues that are topical for them. They focus on local issues, national issues, and well, like everybody else at the minute, they're talking a lot about COVID-19, lockdown, and all the anxieties and concerns around that. But aside from COVID and lockdowns, they're involved in a range of groups and discussion points. And in the last couple of years, they've been focused on ensuring that they also involve people with profound and multiple learning disabilities within their group. So Campaign for Change, they've been focused on lots of local issues like public transport, road safety, accessibility of public buildings, changing places, involvement in groups like Supported Living Network, Staying Up Late campaign, and their own Mind Your Language campaign to focus on appropriate or inappropriate or disrespectful language that's used within social care, and collaborate on accessible information and discussion booklets with other groups. And within our organisation, they're a strong voice to set and to measure standards for us. In the last couple of years, there's a couple of people that we support with profound and multiple learning disabilities who have joined Campaign for Change. This is Frankie. So Frankie, as a member of Campaign for Change, has been active in promoting issues such as the lack of changing places, which impacts on our time shopping, especially at Brighton Marina, where she spends a fair bit of her money. And she's also heavily engaged in Mind Your Language campaign. And I spoke to Frankie's mother, and this is what she said about Frankie being involved with Campaign for Change over the last couple of years. It's key message that I pulled out from our discussion. She was so proud of her, just really proud. I've had to be her voice all of her childhood and adult life, but now it feels like it's turned around. She's now got a voice. She's been listened to, which is fantastic, and it's really the making of Frankie. And there's nothing that Frankie can't do. Also heavily involved in this self and peer advocacy group is Samir. So this is Samir on the top, sort of with Lord Mayor of Sutton and his sister and nephew, following Lord Mayor's reception because he was involved in setting up an athletics championship in Sutton, the David Weir Leisure Centre in Sutton a couple of years ago. So speaking to Samir's sister about his involvement with Campaign for Change, he said that it's made a huge difference to him personally. I feel that it's given him a sense of meaning, a greater chance to socialise with a wider group of people, gives him a good chance to take part in society and have a good impact on making changes for himself and for other people. And his involvement hasn't changed our perception of him, that we were always proud of him, but are even prouder than we were already. As an image of Samir also at Disability Pride a couple of years ago as well, before lockdown. And what's happened in terms of the inclusion of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities into a group like Campaign for Change is the opinion of other members of the group. And this is some of the things that they said to me, is that they've understood and learned a lot more about people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. It's been great because there's learning from both sides about their lives. And it's changed massively in terms of how the group dynamics. There's a bigger variety of people in the group. One person said it's impacted on me personally because I spoke up for Samir, Frankie, and Bradley when we helped each other. And we don't forget that we need to advocate for everyone with a learning disability, especially people who cannot speak. So what the Campaign for Change has done is change dynamic, because people with profound disabilities are there, present, actively involved, and no one gets forgotten, no one is missed. That led to the group being invited to present at last year's Learning Disability England National Conference, which was just before lockdown, I think. And the group was a combination of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities and people with other disabilities coming together, supported by the supporters, and making sure that there's a strong focus on making sure that people with profound and multiple learning disabilities were included in society more widely, and that we didn't forget about their presence. This is a situation where those people who were involved had a great level of pride afterwards. And it's important for us to feel a sense of pride in our achievements, and also in the achievements of our family members. So the families of these guys, hugely proud, and yeah, just really impressed by how far they've gone, how much they've achieved in a short space of time. Campaign for Change now is really pushing for more visibility, more promotion of the rights and needs of people with profound and multiple learning disabilities as a consequence. I'm going to show you a video clip that was shown at the conference to ensure that people with profound disabilities are included.
Jason Moore?
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay, brilliant. So this one.
Are you laughing? You might not be laughing in a minute.
Here we go, always the first 10 minutes.
Right, ready?
So what are the benefits of massage?
Well, first of all, relaxation. That's the main. Touch as well. So touch and feel.
Alexa, what is brown and sticky?
That's it.
Alexa, when is the end of the world?
Unless it collides with a very large rock or a future technology goes very wrong indeed, Earth is most likely to be destroyed when the sun swells into a red giant in several billion years' time.
This is very funny. We've been out for the day anyway. We unfortunately had to look on our phones to find the change in places toilet. There's only 4, I think, we found. Is there 4 across Brighton? Not enough. Hence this lovely, fantastic lady, Frankie from Campaign for Change. So you've been campaigning with Samir, who couldn't make it out today, could he? Where have you been? You've been to the Brighton Marina. That's where you're focusing on at the moment, aren't you? So you've been talking to friends about what was needed down at the marina and accessible changing places, because you access the marina quite a lot, bowling, cinema, shopping. Shopping being a big thing for you, isn't it? There's lots of other people out there in a similar situation, and we don't think that's fair either, do we? Totally, yes. So we're going to try and change that, aren't we?
So people wanting what we all want, just an ordinary life. But when it comes to getting out and about, going to present at a conference many miles away, all of that takes time, takes preparation. So, and also takes some creativity from key people who know the person well. I know when that person is happy, comfortable, uncomfortable, and if comfortable or uncomfortable, what it is that's making them so. With a situation like a trip from Brighton to Manchester overnight, it takes military style organization. The planning, planning the route, arranging stop-off points with changing places, the range of equipment and resources needed to be packed, getting a hotel close to the conference venue, that could meet the needs of people, hiring out a mobile hoist, just goes on and on. So for one night's stay, for me and you, it's quite easy. Just book a hotel, off we go. And for people with profound and multiple learning disability, that and any other access to the community requires a lot more planning. So it's all about preparation. It's all about time, making the time. And here, and these are images of some of the conversations that were had in preparation for that conference. So it took weeks of planning, discussions, making sure that people were clear about what they wanted to communicate during the course of that day. And that's obviously with the full inclusion of those people, Frankie, Samir and Bradley, to seek opinions. Again, appreciation of what role each person would play within the conference and the presentation, and what support they would need to be a part of that, and be in control as much as possible, as much as communication and physical disabilities would allow, or physical abilities, I mean. So it's all about taking the time, taking the space, being creative, properly listening to people, and I mean listening to people who don't use speech. Many will be familiar with the Hanging Out program from Sheridan Foster, but just a reminder of that in terms of this approach is quite important in terms of interacting and engaging with people so that we can get the best out of them. But also add intensive interaction and other types of support. Just want to highlight the Hanging Out program, which focuses on the fact that everyone, all of us, can benefit from interactions, but it can be hard for some people. But we need to sort of really devote time to enjoy the company of other people and hone in on their communication style, make sure that we properly engage. It's very simple to adopt the Hanging Out program. It's about taking time, devoting time, and making sure that you tune in to the individual. So if you're not familiar with Hanging Out, then check it out. It's really good in terms of sort of supporting people to be involved and to make sure that we truly understand people, develop good rapport, relationships with the individual that we're supporting, and take really good appreciation of the need for quality in interactions and relationships, and at the person's pace. We also need to take advantage of networks. So going forward, there's so much to learn from each other. We need not be afraid to engage with other people, share our successes, our barriers, our challenges and fears, because there's lots of those. We're all independent on each other, with or without disabilities. There's some really good groups here. There's more groups. There's many more groups involved here today. We need to network better with each other to make sure that when it comes to self-advocacy, peer advocacy for people with profound and multiple learning disabilities, we are doing as much as we possibly can. There's some great resources out there. You know, the new neck wellbeing site and Facebook pages. You know, the work that Julie is doing there, and some of their inspirational guidance, and there's so much going on between us all. We just need to continue to engage, spark off each other, and make sure that with groups like Campaign for Change and other groups, we can support people to be fully present, fully involved and included in advocacy and in society as a whole. And within that, then, we need to sort of be really mindful of the fact that virtually overnight, we changed how we function, we changed how we work, how we live, because of lockdown, because of the risks with COVID-19 for all of us. We had to change how we operate. We live in a more virtual world, and we did that pretty much overnight. So we now have an opportunity to think about life beyond lockdown, what that's going to look like for us, and how that might look for people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. we've got an opportunity now to make sure that once we get through this lockdown, that we can alter our support and services so that they are more meaningful, they are more inclusive for people with profound disabilities, so that they themselves then have a life worth living. So finally, this is some resources that people might find useful, might already have access to, but just a reminder that that they are there. Just before I finish, you okay to do the second poll, please, Rachel? Going forward, we want to see how we continue to network. We are, well, we haven't discussed it as a group yet, but we need to think about, you know, whether we hold a further Raising the Bar conference or Raising the Bar 4. You know, we need to think getting through lockdown, unfortunately. But would you be interested in taking part in one way or another, either as a sort of presenter or a delegate, if we were to have another Raising the Bar conference, just to get a bit of a feel for that? Okay, so quite a lot of people would be interested, and a lot of people maybe. So yeah, that sounds very positive. So let's hope we can get through this lockdown. Perhaps we need to think about a virtual means of engaging if we're still struggling during the course of this year. But be good to have that going again. And sort of focusing in on the standards and getting a good review of those standards as well. And finally, so just some contact details. If I close it, just have an opportunity for discussion or questions, if that's okay.
Some people asked in the chat, Michael, if we could share the video, the link to the video with them so they could share that. Yeah, so I was trying to put my video on, but I can't because you're in control, Rachel. Yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely. We can share the video. I can see Annie Ferguson now. I'll put a link to it in the email that we send out afterwards, so everyone
Okay,
can get it.
Brilliant. Yeah, yeah. So I haven't had a chance to have a look at any chat questions, if there is any.
If anyone else has got a question, would you like to give us a wave, or if you click on participants and put your hand up, I'll know that you're waiting. Oh, see, Anne has got one.
Is that Anne Lenny, yeah?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hi. It's not really a question, it's more of a comment on something you said really early on, Michael, which is about people with profound and multiple learning disabilities not given the respect and acknowledgement that they are due with respect to their ability to give us emotional support. So I'm thinking of very specific examples from my own life where I've been in a point where I've been a bit traumatized, someone, you know, bereaved, and I've been spending time with somebody who, to all intents and purposes, many people would view as not having understanding and empathy and sympathy because of the way they appear. And the experiences I have had have been so profound in the feelings I get from spending time with someone, and this particular person was very, he didn't like equipment, he had his own things, but he didn't really want to share any of our stuff, and he was quite touch averse, and we were only really beginning to work on proximity with him. And on this occasion, he reached over and he gave me his toy, and I thought it was a bit of an accident, so I sort of said, oh, that's nice, and pushed it back towards him because I thought maybe it was an accident. But he insisted that I held his favourite thing of the moment for the rest of that session. It was just amazing, and I think it happens all the time. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because I felt quite important, that's all.
Yeah, it's a sort of, it brought to mind with me running like an emotional well-being session with a support team, and then it was during the session, it sort of dawned on some support team members that they recognized that when there was change, particularly changes in support teams, that they had underestimated the impact on people with profound disabilities, because sometimes those changes can be so subtle. It brought it home that just changes. People are prone to so many changes in their lives, particularly people, and probably we don't appreciate, how impacting that is for somebody with profound disabilities, because the signs are so subtle. Annie, were you going to say something, or put your hand down?
Well, it was just following on from your suggestion that we need to be planning, looking forward. And I mean, one of the things we've all learned from, the pandemic, the lockdown, restricted lives, is that we reflect on our lives and what's important. But it's also, we ought to make the most of this opportunity to reflect on what we've learned about living, supporting, enabling people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. And, lots of comments we get through PMLD links, sort of community pages, is just how people have really appreciated having the time to understand and learn more about the person, just because they are hanging out with them without the usual stresses of rushing to get to appointments or activities. They've just been able to go with the flow and learn about the preferences of that individual themselves. So, that's been a really valuable opportunity. The other thing people have really shared with us is, first of all, the challenge of the virtual world, where people perhaps can't engage in Zooms like this in the same way you or I might. Yeah. But actually, there have been lots of unexpected outcomes from this virtual world. So some people are now engaging with people on the screen or whatever's been shared. But the other thing that I think's been really exciting is that this virtual world has kind of enabled, and I don't want to put it in the wrong way, because it's a very much a reciprocal opportunity, but someone facilitating, for example, a sensory session, a music therapy session online, is reliant on that support worker, that carer, that familiar person to help the person with profound and multiple learning disabilities engage in the activity, the enjoyment, that meaningful time. But the unexpected bits are kind of the engagement between that communication partner and the person, if you like, facilitating the session. So what I'm hearing is people are becoming more tuned in, they're sharing, oh, did you see that? Oh, look, he doesn't want to sit down today, he's standing up for the session. or I think he's choosing that one. I can see his eyes moving just because I've got a different view of the person on screen rather than sitting side by side to them. So again, you know, it's maybe finding ways to share some of these insights, you know, these different approaches, and sort of take that learning forward. Not sure how you do that, but yeah, that was all.
I think you know, many of us can support with that. I think it'd be a real shame to lose a lot of those positives beyond the lockdown. I think there's a lot of anxiety around health vulnerabilities at the minute of people with profound disabilities, quite rightly. But yeah, moving beyond that, I think lockdown has allowed us to slow down, you know, to be more mindful, more acutely aware of our sensory being. So yeah, not to lose that. I think, you know, it makes me reflect on, you know, some of our services. You know, if we have a day service, you know, what does that look like beyond lockdown? Do we go back to that way of working, or do we do it differently? So, you know, now's the time to, I guess, have those conversations, have a rethink about what we offer to people. But yeah, the challenge is how we actively collaborate at a point when we're also, I guess, all busy with COVID and making sure people are safe and all the other stuff that we are having to do. But yeah, we need to think on that and probably act fairly swiftly so we can prep ourselves for the future.
We've had a question in the chat about if there's any books you would recommend. I wonder if anyone else has maybe got any that you can maybe stick them in the chat as well, if Michael's.
Annie Ferguson's probably a book reference expert. Books on advocacy or sorry, I'm trying to see the question.
It's not specific, Yvonne. I don't know whether you're still here. I can't see you on my screen, but there's too many. On advocacy.
Okay, yeah. I don't know, it depends on what books referring to, if it's around advocacy or.
Oh, Annie's sticking us some in the chat.
I think the second but last slide sort of has a link to Sheridan's work around Hangout program, and yeah, sort of like the new website, the NAC wellbeing website, it's got some pretty amazing stuff on there as well. With PMLD link obviously as well. If you're not a member, it's pretty reasonable. Also looking for articles for the next issue actually, around training and professional development. If anybody sort of like got burning desire to get an article in there, get something, it doesn't have to be too big.
Adele has put a question in the chat. It's quite long, so I don't know if Adele maybe wants to say it. I'm happy to read it if not. I can't.
This is the one about ensuring, how do we ensure the impact is not diluted by the number of different organizations working separately? Yeah, it's a risk. Yeah, well, I guess the more people engaged in conversation, the better. But yeah, it's I guess managing it. But where's the best avenues at the minute? There is chats going on a regular basis through the Raising the Bar Facebook page, the PMLD Link Facebook page. So I guess through social media, it'd be good. I think obviously, we need to think about how we would coordinate it, but a review of the standards would be really good. They've been out there for a little while now. Perhaps virtually we can find a means of getting people's different views on how we can enhance those standards, get them more out there in different settings so that people are actively using. It's great to see the evidence from this chat that some people are actively using. Maybe not all the time, but even if periodically people are dipping in, they're sort of checking that they're looking at continually improving what they're doing in terms of support and services for people with profound disabilities. That'd be great. But we can, we never sit still. We've got to continually improve, change what we're doing in order to meet changing demands, changing perceptions of what people want from us. So we'll find, I'm sure, a virtual way of reviewing the standards. We will at some point have raising the bar forward, I'm sure. But yeah, we'll need to use social media quite a bit, just given that people live in different parts of this country and other countries nearby. And just keep talking.
Are there any final questions, comments?
Are we done?
Jill's just sent me a question about the slideshow. Do you mean the slides from today, Jill? Yeah, I'll send them out in an email afterwards. Okay, so I'll send out the slides, the recording, and any links to things that we've got going on. Our conference, Learning Disability England's conference, is in March, and we've just kind of launched the Eventbrite for that. So if people are interested, very welcome to sign up for that too. Just want to flag that to you all. But yeah, thank you all for coming today. I think it's been really interesting. Thank you, Michael, for leading this session. And I hope to see some of you at some of our other stuff that's going on. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Have a good day.